Hello, welcome back to part 2 of this Unity Zebedee playfab walkthrough. Um, Last video we looked at getting the login with Zebedee working, making sure that our client secret was only called on playfab. And now we're going to look at actually the next part, which is like adding points and withdrawing. So, you know, in a game you get points. So for example, say you wanted to make a game where the player runs along and gets coins. I want to get like so many coins, you know, each coin is worth say 1 Satoshi. When they press withdraw, they get 1 Satoshi. If they have 1 coin, they get 5 Satoshis if they have 5 coins. So we're going to look how we can do that with playfab. If we head over, look at our app here, we have the button add point. And let me just load it here on my Android build. So if I press, so the first thing it's done is it's actually got my current balance of points here from playfab, and when I press add, it adds a point, 2, 3, 4. Then I can go to withdraw, and it says here 4 sat cent. So when I press withdraw again, you do not have any points, so I need to add points again. It's a very, very simple game, but it will be the basis of the type of game we want to make, perhaps. So I'm using playfab for this because I don't want to store the balance of these points on the game. So if I kind of store how many points I have on the game, it's more easy to be changed. So if I store it in the player preferences with Unity, somebody might change that value and give themselves a lot of points. So I'm actually kind of storing and increasing the points on the playfab server, which is a more secure way to do it. So let's just open game controller and see what's going on here. So the first thing I do is I kind of set the playfab. I set the title ID, which is set here. Then I log into playfab, call log into playfab stuff. When login has succeeded, it calls the get points script on playfab. So this basically gets the user's current balance. So we head over to playfab and look at that function, get points. So the first thing we're doing is we're actually checking, has the user logged in, because we want the user to log in with Zebedee before they can get points. So what we're actually checking, does the user have a gamer tag set? So we go here, I do have a gamer tag set. So because I have a gamer tag set, I can continue on to this point. If I don't have a gamer tag set, it will return the error, please log in with Zebedee. But I do have a gamer tag set, so it gets the user data inventory, and it gets points. So I'm using playfab's virtual currency system here, so I should talk about that. I had to go to, let me just duplicate this page. To set this up, very, very simple. In playfab, I had to go to economy, currency, and new currency, and I called it PT and called it points. And playfab has this concept of setting up currencies. So anything can be currency. It could be coins, it could be points, it could be life points. It's a fairly generic term. But you can see I set up points here. That's all I had to do. And because I set it up, now I can call get the user's inventory and I can get points in PT. Very, very simple. Playfab recommended to do it this way because it was the most secure way to do it. But let's see what happens if my gamer tag isn't set. So let me just wipe my data here. So I'm going to remove all this player data. Yep. And now if I go here, if I close the app and find it, where is it? Open it up. It should probably say log in with Zebedee or something like that. It's logged in, and yeah, please log in with Zebedee because we're doing that check here. So I will log in with Zebedee again. We showed this in the last video. So yeah, we've logged in with Zebedee. Now when sorry, the text is not formatted right, but now when I press get points, it's 1, 2. again, so that's a different function now. So now we've gone straight to the add point. So the add point is connected to this button here, add point. That calls another function on playfab, add point, which is this one here. Very, very simple. It checks has the user logged in with Zebedee. If they haven't, it returns please log in with Zebedee. It gets the user's points. We're checking other points greater than a max value. So I've just basically set an arbitrary limit here. Max value is 10. I just don't want the user to be able to get more than 10 points, right? If you don't have this check on, somebody might like give themselves 1,000,000 points. Or it's really good to limit it. So if we kind of share my screen here, if I keep adding points, once I get to 10, it should say, yeah, max value reached. This is kind of like an example of the type of security limit you could do. Anyway, if it hasn't reached the max value, I call add points, which is a helper function. Basically just adds points to the player's virtual currency. Yep, and then it just returns the current balance of points. Very, very simple. If we can go to the virtual currency here, I can see that I have 10 points here. And let's just remove. I'm just going to change it actually. Just change it to gamertag W, because now the script won't find gamertag because I've changed it to gamertag W, and we would be able to see that if I try to add a point, it should say, please log in with Zebedee. So just to show that check works there. But let me kind of add this back to gamertag. Okay, that's very, very simple how to add points. Now the next part of this is we want to withdraw. When I press withdraw, it should take my points and give me 10 sats, 1 sat per point. Yep, 10 sats is sent. If I go to my Zebedee wallet, I refresh, you can see I've got 10 sats here sent. It's very simple. Withdraw, I call the function withdraw. So you can see here there's no kind of code or logic here. I'm doing all the logic on playfab, because if I do too much logic in my client, it's easy to hack. So let's have a look at the withdraw function. So the withdraw function is a little bit bigger because we're doing a few things. Let's see what we're doing. Again, we're checking has the user logged in with Zebedee, but we're actually checking for the user ID here, not the gamer tag. Just because when we withdraw, the user ID is actually, it's quite important. We have to do a little check here. I'll explain it a bit. Anyway, so we check that. We also get the current balance of points. If the points are 0, we stop the withdrawal because they don't have any points. Obviously, we don't want to let them withdraw if it's 0. And if the points are bigger than the max value, like for some reason have 100 points, we just make it 10. It's like a small security kind of thing there. Now, what I actually do here is actually I call this function reset points, and what this does, it makes the points 0. I'll explain why I've done that. So this is subtract points. I subtract the current balance, which would give me 0. I do this because this is a security thing to stop what's known as like a race condition. But let's talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, I get the points. I times it by 1,000 because the Zebedee API, if I want to send 1 sat, I have to send 1,000 millisats because the API is in millisats, not sats. So I need to times that by 1,000. Now, I need to get the latest gamer tag. So we have got gamer tag set here. However, the gamer tag is changeable by the user. So we want to get the latest gamer tag. So for example, I've logged in with Mandelduck, but I could have like changed my name to Mandeldog. And now if I try to send to Mandelduck, it won't send because Mandelduck no longer exists. Ideally, what you would do is before they withdraw, you would do the OAuth2 flow with the access token. You'd get like their latest data, but that's a bit complicated. You'd have to use like refresh tokens and refresh the access token. It's probably the way you should do it, but it will just make this tutorial a lot bigger to show you how to do that. But what I'm doing, which is a bit quicker and simpler, is I have the user ID. This never changes, and I call get gamer tag for Zebedee user ID. So I pass the user ID, and in this function here, yep, I make an API call to this API, which if I give it the user ID, it gives me the gamer tag. And this basically gives me the user's current gamer tag. So if they've changed it, I get the new one. As I said, ideally what you want to do is you want to use the access token we got here to call get user data again to get the latest data. So all this would be refreshed. Are they verified the email, etc. But that's kind of complicated, and that's probably for another tutorial. But it's very important that it's very important to know that the gamer tag is completely changeable. So you do not use the gamer tag as a user ID. We do have some players, like some developers, who are like keep track of the amount a user has withdrawn by their gamer tag. So for example, if myself, Mandel, they would have like a database saying Mandel 10 sats, Mandel 20 sats. And then all I have to do is change my gamer tag to Mandel dog, and then that limit no longer applies. So yeah, it's very important that you need to use the gamer tag ID, because that never changes for the user. The gamer tag is purely a display thing. Anyway, we've got the latest gamer tag. Now we call send to gamer tag, which is the function here. Yep, so we're getting the API key from our title data, and we pass the amount in millisats to the gamer tag and the description, and we call send payment, and if it returns okay, or it could return an error. So if it's successful, so if it's not successful, if there's an error, it didn't send it, we want to add the points back. So you see here that we reset the points. We made the points 0, and here we're adding them back. This is quite important, because what could happen if we don't do this, and we let's say that because obviously once they've got if they have 10 points, once they have the 10 stats, we want to make sure they have 0 points, because they've kind of claimed those sats. But if we put that here, what will happen is the player will call this function. They'll press the withdraw button many times very, very quickly. What will happen here is you'll get a request. It'll detect they've got 10 points. It will send to gamer tag, but as it's sending to gamer tag, another request will come in to withdraw. They'll check they have 10 points, and because the first gamer tag request hasn't finished, the points wouldn't have been reset. So in that window, while it's sending to gamer tag, they can basically spam and call this function many times, and they could, if they've only got 10 points, but they managed to press that 3 times before this response comes back, they'd be able to claim 30 sats, because the points are only set to 0 after this has come back. This is why we want to reset it here. We set it to 0 here. So if they do that, it comes in, it resets. Then when they, if they press it very, very quickly, it would hit this error. You have 0 points. And I should probably just kind of show that in action here. Actually, it's quite easy to show, but this is a very important thing. Let's just remove this here. So this is an insecure way of doing it. So if I save my cloud script and go to my game, so let's just say, okay, give myself 5 points. So I'm going to press withdraw very, very quickly. Okay, and if I go to my Zebedee wallet, I can see here I've withdrawn 5 sats many times. But if I go back here and I add the reset, if I put it back how it was, reset points here. Actually, no, that was wrong, actually, sorry. Ignore what I just said, sorry. The reset points would be on successful here. So I put it there. Okay. Let me just try that again. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, 6. So if I press it, yeah, I managed to call 6 sats quite a few times. But if I put it back to how it was, i.e. I reset the point straight away, I should only be able to call that function once, and it should return you have no points. So try again. Definitely I've got minus value. So you can add some checks here to make sure it isn't minus, etc. Okay. But if I press twice, yeah, okay, it should say you do not have any points. And if I go to my, see here, I've only been able to withdraw those 2 stats once. So it's very, very important there. However, because you've removed the points, what happens if you send a gamer tag and it fails, right? You know, the user has actually claimed them because it didn't send a gamer tag. We add the points back. So if there's an error, like the user's account has been blocked by Zebedee or something or whatever, you can add the points back only if it fails. So that's why we have that there. Anyway, so that is basically sent to the gamer tag, and now we also want to call the update user stats. So the points here are the amount of stats that have been sent. Update user stats, this is an optional thing. I just store how many sats the user has been sent. So I can, if I go to my user, I should be able to see, refresh this. Yeah, okay. There's a little bug there. I know I've done that. I've done something silly there. They haven't sent that many sats. Let's fix that little bug here. So I probably want to make sure this is, I think, a number, and make sure this is a number here. Yep, I think it's typical JavaScript issue. It's kind of concatenating strings, but I want to make sure it's a number. Let's set that to 0. Let's try again. So if I give myself some points, withdraw, stat sent, give myself some more points. Hopefully the amount withdraw should now be 5 because I've sent 2 and 3. Yeah, so it's 5. Yep. And that's basically it. That is how you can make a very simple game where the user has to log in, they accumulate points, and then with those points they can withdraw sats. Other things you can do, so for example, I mentioned here we might want to require that the user is verified. So I would get this from, let's put this in withdraw. So I would also get is verified. So is Zebedee verified, sorry. And then I could call something like, you know, if they're not verified, oh, this should be false, isn't it? Sorry, that's why. Okay, now it should work. Third time lucky. Yep, please verify in the Zebedee app to withdraw. Sorry about that little delay there. I am new to playfab. Yeah, but this is important to caveat that this is just like a kind of tutorial. This is no by means like this shouldn't be a game. Security is a big thing. This is a kind of starting point to make your game secure. But basically here with withdraw, you want to add all your own types of security checks. You know, you need to do some research and find some Unity secure anti-cheat tooling. You know, for example, if we go to the Unity Asset Store, you want to maybe check out God Square, get in touch with them. They can work out a pricing to add security to your game to make sure if they're a hacker or not. Another company we are looking at is AnyBrain. You want to kind of get in touch with them. So these are all like SDKs you download and put in your game, and they will kind of tell you if people are cheating, and they would have APIs that you would call from here. You know, from withdraw, you do something like, you know, God Square dot check fraud or something like that, check cheating, or AnyBrain. This is very important because once you add Bitcoin to your game, it will be hacked, and people do all sorts of clever things, and people set up farms as well. So you also want to probably get in touch with us and check out our Zebedee Shield product. We have an anti-cheat product as well. But it's very, so we kind of help to block bots and bad actors, because people will set up farms of devices with, you know, either people in poorer countries playing them, or very clever robots that will play, and they will basically drain all your sats without making you any ad revenue. And this is why we add the is verified check, because that helps mitigate it. But you also, you don't want to release your game without either implementing something like AnyBrain or God Square and something like Zebedee Shield. But this should get you started making a game that you can kind of test out with a core group of players. But when you want to go and promote your game to millions of players, you really need to use a God Square Shield AnyBrain solution. Anyway, I'm going to talk there. I'm going to stop talking there. And if you have any questions, do get in touch. All this code will be on GitHub. Thank you.